To my YouTube family.
No, it may be me. This is James. Sorry. I
Yes.
put the phone to my ear. I can't figure it out either.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. To my YouTube family, my apologies. My alarm went off and the recording stopped. But this message is too important for you to miss anything, for you to miss any portion of it. So I've restarted it so that you can be present, so that you hear it all. So that you hear it all. Barak Yahuwah. So Luke, we left off at Luke, the 14th chapter, verse 25 through 33.
Hey, excuse me real quick. It's almost at
I know.
4 o'clock.
I know, my brother. I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Luke, the 14th chapter, verse 25 through 33. Beginning at verse 25. And large crowds were going with him. And turning, he said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters and his own life too, he is unable to be my taught one. I'm going to read it again. And large crowds were going with him. And turning, he said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father, this means to love. Mute your mics, please, Ms. Parker. Mute your mics. And large crowds were going with him. And turning, he said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate, and this means to love less, we can't love anything more than Yahuwah. He must be the most important thing in our lives. He must be more important than our children, than our wives, than our husbands, than our brothers and our sisters, yea, even our own lives. If he doesn't mean everything to us, everything, then we're lukewarm. And he's going to vomit us out of his mouth, and we're not worthy to be his taught ones, as it reads here. And large crowds were going with him. And turning, he said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father, which means to love less, and mother and wife, and children, and brothers and sisters, and his own life too, he is unable to be my taught one. And whoever does not bear his stake and come after me is unable to be my taught one. For who of you, wishing to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Indeed, Abba began this message, this proclamation, by speaking this very thing. He has asked us to examine the cost, to count up the cost, to determine if whether or not this narrow walk is something that we can afford. Because if it isn't something that we can afford, we need not even begin this walk. If we are not willing to give up all, then this is not the walk for you. This is not the walk for you. You're lukewarm. You're a mixture. You're a confusion. And this is not the walk for you. This is not Christianity. This is not religion. This is a way of life. This is a way of life. This is the way of life. This is the way everlasting. If you want life, then you're to walk this narrow path. Barak Yahuwah. For who of you wishing to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid the foundation and is unable to finish it, all who see it began to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was unable to finish. Or what sovereign going to fight against another sovereign does not sit down first and take counsel whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes up against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation, acts conditions of shalom. So then, every one of you who does not give up all that he has, so then, every one of you who does not give up all that he has is unable to be my taught one. Is unable to be my taught one. This is not a suggestion. This is not a suggestion. This is not a suggestion. I'm going to stop and I'm going to pause right here for the 9th hour offering. But I pray that you are in deep contemplation. That you are in deep contemplation. And when we come to the 9th hour offering, that there is no lukewarmness, that Abba has revealed your nakedness, that he has shown you your nakedness, and you are even now, teshuva, repenting and seeking him with all your heart for forgiveness and to cover your nakedness, to cover your shame. Don't you come to him lukewarm. Don't you dare come to him lukewarm. He doesn't want your lukewarmness. It's a stench to his nostrils. It's a stench to his nostrils. I'm going to pause right here, Barak Yahuwah, until the 9th hour.
Yahusha. Barak Yahuwah! Barak Yahuwah! Barak Yahuwah! Barak Yahuwah! Barak Yahuwah! Sham Yahusha!
Hallelujah. Thank you, Abba.
I got a song to sing, Miss Parker. I'll kick it off. Barak Yahuwah. Can y'all mute your mics, please? Mute your mics, please. Mute your mics, please. Mute your mics, please. Mute your mics, please. Oh. What is that? Barak Yahuwah. 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 We lift your name, your Kadosh name. We won't profane, we won't profane. We lift your name, your sovereign reign. You broke our chains, we lift your name. Barak Yahuwah. 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 We lift your name, your Kadosh name. We won't profane, we won't profane. We lift your name, your sovereign reign. You broke our chains, we exalt your name. Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah, by him Yahusha, by him Yahusha. Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. We lift your name, your Kadosh name. We won't profane, all your sovereign reign. You broke the chain, always about your name. Barak Yahuwah, 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 Barak Yahusha, Barak Yahusha, Barak Yahusha, Barak Yahusha. We lift your name, we lift your name. 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 Barak Yahuwah, 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 Barak
our strength, possessions, we give to you. All that we have, 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 we give to you. You're worthy. 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 All that we have, we give to you. 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 Our breath, our might, our bodies, all that we have, we give to you. 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 We give to you. We give to you. We give to you.
We're not worthy.
We give to you.
Rock Yahweh.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy of you. We're not worthy of you.
Rock Yahweh. Hallelujah.
We're not worthy of you. We give it all to 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 you.
We give it all, Abba. All is yours. All is yours. And we give it all to you, Abba. We give it all to you. We give it all to you.
Yes, we worship you. Yes, we worship you. Oh, you are worshipped in this place. Rock YAHUAH'S.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah.
How worthy is he? How worthy Hallelujah. How worthy is he? How worthy is he? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. He's worthy of all esteem. Yes, you are. You're worthy of all honor. You are worthy of all our praise. You are worthy of everything. How worthy are you? How worthy are you? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. How worthy are you? How worthy are you? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We barack your Kadosh name. 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 Yahuwah is your name. Yahuwah is your name. Not G-O-D or L-O-R-D. Not G-O-D or L-O-R-D. Yahuwah is your name. Yahuwah is your name. Not G-O-D or L-O-R-D. Not G-O-D or L-O-R-D. And we barack your Kadosh name. 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 How worthy is he? How worthy is he? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. How worthy is he? How worthy is he? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Barak Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Your name out of be esteemed in all the earth. Your name alone be esteemed in all the earth.
Yes.
We pray that this offering has gone up as a sweet smelling aroma into your nostrils. That you've received the offerings that came from pure hearts and from pure lips, Abba. And we pray that even now that you are supping with us, that this offering as it was being prepared ascended as a sweet smelling aroma into your nostrils, and that it was well pleasing unto you. That it was well pleasing unto you. In the Basham of Yahushua HaMashiach.
So be it.
So be it. So be it. Mute your mics, Mishpaka. Mute your mics. Barak Yahuwah. For my YouTube family, this will be part 2 of this proclamation. Continuing. Many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. This is a proclamation. It's a message. It's not a teaching. It's a proclamation to whomever has ears to hear, and whomever has eyes to see. Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19. Verses 16 through 30. Verses 16 through 30. And see, one came and said to him, Good teacher, what good shall I do to have everlasting life? What good shall I do to have everlasting life? And he said to him, Why do you call me good? No one is good except one, Elohim. But if you wish to enter into life, guard the commands. Guard the commands. He said to him, Which? And Yahushua said, You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. Respect your father and your mother. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself. The young man said to him, All these I have watched over from my youth. What do I still lack? Yahushua said to him, If you wish to be perfect, go, sell what you have, and give to the poor. And you shall have treasure in Shamayim. And come, follow me. And when the young man heard the word, he went away sad, because he had many possessions. And Yahushua said to his taught ones, Truly, I say to you, that it is hard for a rich man to enter into the reign of the Shamayim. Indeed, because unless we give up all, unless we are willing to give up all, unless he is the only thing that matters to us, we are not his taught ones. We are not worthy to be his taught ones. Indeed, we are lukewarm. We are lukewarm. You see, this is why many are called, but only a very few are chosen. You see, this is not a game. This is not a game. This is why indeed many are called, but very few are chosen. Truly I say to you, that it is hard for a rich man to enter into the reign of the Shamayim. And again I say to you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the reign of Elohim. And when his taught ones heard it, they were very astonished, saying, Who then is able to be saved or delivered? And looking intently, Yahushua said to them, With men this is impossible, but with Elohim all is possible. What does he mean? He means if you have the Ruach HaKadosh indwelling in you, then truly the love of Yahuwah is in you. And you are willing then to give up all. But if the Ruach HaKadosh does not dwell in you, then you're going to go away sad like this rich man, not willing to give up all for him. Not willing to give up all. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. Only a few accept this Ruach HaKodesh. Because, you see, if you accept this Ruach HaKodesh, you cannot remain the same. You see, many are afraid of change. They are afraid of what Yahuwah is going to expose in them. So they reject this righteous Ruach HaKodesh, who comes in and writes his Torah upon our hearts, whereby giving us the very nature and character of Yahuwah himself. They reject him, and thus this type of activity becomes impossible, because we cannot do this in our flesh. But if the very Ruach of Yahuwah Al Shaddai dwells in us, then his very nature and character dwells in us, and we will give up all. Did he not give up all for you? Did he not come down and assume flesh and die for you? He gave up all for you. And if that Ruach dwells in you, then you too will give up all. And if that Ruach doesn't dwell in you, you don't belong to him. You don't belong to him. You are not in covenant with him. And you're not going to enter into life. You're lukewarm. He's going to vomit you out of his mouth. And without his Ruach, you cannot obey Torah. And it's impossible to obey Torah without his Ruach. Torah is Ruach, because Torah is Yahuwah. We cannot guard Torah without his Ruach being and dwelling in us. Then Kapha, answering, said to him, see, we have left all and followed you. See, we have left all and followed you. What then shall we have? Yahusha said to them, truly I say to you, when the son of Adam sits on the throne of his esteem, you have followed me in the rebirth, being born from above, shall also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Yashar'al. And everyone who has left houses, or brothers, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life, and shall inherit everlasting life. But many who are first shall be last, and the last first. Indeed, many are called, but very few are chosen. Many are called, but very few are chosen. This is not a game. This is not a game. This is not a game. Unless we give up all, we cannot be his taught ones. We cannot be his taught ones. He demands our whole heart. He demands that we love him with all of our heart, not part of our heart, not 3/4 of our heart. He demands that we love him with all of our hearts, with all of our beings, and with all of our might. Not with part, not part of our love, not part of our being, and not part of our might, but with all our heart, all of our being, and with all of our might. If we don't give him all, if we are not willing to give up all, we cannot be his taught ones. We cannot be his taught ones. Abba's going somewhere with this. He's going somewhere, but he's laying a foundation. And I pray even in this foundation that nakedness has been exposed, and that you're ashamed. That you're ashamed. Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7. Many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. Matthew chapter 7. verse 13 through 23. Verses 13 through 23. Enter in through the narrow gate. Enter in through the narrow gate. Because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction. And there are many who enter in through it. Because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life. And there are few who find it. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. It's not a game. It's not a game. You're not going to fake it and make it into the millennial reign. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going to fake it and make it into eternal life. At the renewal of all things, at the last great day, you're not going to fake it and make it in. Either you're going to love him with all your heart, mind, and might, or you're not going to love him at all, because he's not going to take part of it. He wants it all. He wants it all. And we cannot give him all unless his Ruach HaKodesh dwells in us. And if you continue to reject the Ruach HaKodesh, then you will not have life, because he is the Ruach of life. Only he gives life. And if the Ruach that dwells, that raised Yahushua HaMashiach from death to life dwells in us, then he shall also raise us from death to life, if he dwells in you. If he dwells in you. But beware of the false Nabiim, who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are savage wolves. By their fruits you shall know them. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every good tree yields good fruit. What is good fruit? Good fruit is Torah. Good fruit is the obedience to Torah in Ruach and in truth. Because there are many who claim to obey Torah, but do not have the Ruach of Yahuwah al-Shaddai. And their obedience is in vain. You can't obey Torah without its Ruach HaKodesh. But a rotten tree yields wicked fruit. A good tree is unable to yield wicked fruit, and a rotten tree to yield good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. What is good fruit? Good fruit is obedience to Torah in Ruach and in truth, operating in love, true ahavah, which is manifested in our works, powered by the Ruach HaKodesh, Barak Yahuwah. Our light then, being fueled by the oil of the Ruach HaKodesh. So then, by their fruits you shall know them. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the reign of the Shamayim, but he who is doing the desire of my Father in the Shamayim. You can't know his desire without the Ruach HaKodesh indwelling in you, because the Ruach HaKodesh searches all things, even the mind of Yahuwah, and he teaches those whom he indwells the very mind of Yahuwah, and teaches them who he indwells the very nature and character of Yahuwah al-Shaddai. You don't know the desire of Yahuwah if you don't have his Ruach HaKodesh indwelling in you, who teaches you his desire. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not Nabah in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and done many mighty works in your name? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness, you who work Torahlessness. You can't obey Torah without the Ruach HaKodesh. Well, some may ask, well, how did they cast out devils in his name, and prophesy in his name, and do many mighty works in his name? How did they do that, and why did he declare to them at the end, I never knew you? Why would he allow them to do that? Only to make it to the end, to declare to them, I never knew you. I declare to you to check your heart. Check your heart. Check your heart. But I also declare to you this. Turn to Deuteronomy, the 13th chapter, verse 1 through 5. Deuteronomy, the 13th chapter, verse 1 through 5. Deuteronomy, the 13th chapter, verse 1 through 5. Oh yeah, you would know them by their fruit. And I've seen fruit. I've seen some fruit. I've seen some nakedness. I've seen nakedness. Indeed, you will know them by their fruit. You will know them by their fruit. I am a servant of YAHUAH'S, and I speak truth. I am a messenger. I am a messenger of truth. I haven't been sent by to tickle anybody's ears. I am a messenger of truth. I answer to no one but to Yahuwah. I speak his truth and his truth alone. Deuteronomy 13, the 13th chapter, verse 1 through 5. When there arises among you a Nabi or a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he shall give you a sign or a wonder, and the sign or the wonder shall come true, of which he has spoken to you, saying, let us go after other mighty ones, which you have not known, and serve them. Do not listen to the words of that Nabi, or that dreamer of dreams. For Yahuwah your Elohim is trying you to know whether you love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being. You see, he's going to allow some to operate like that, casting out devils, prophesying and doing many mighty works, to try you, to see whether, in order to try you, to know whether you love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your mind and with all your being. Indeed, that time of trying, that time of testing, it's even at the door. It's even at the door. He's getting ready to try. He's getting ready to try. Keep on rejecting his root. Keep on. You're going to fall right into this trap of believing that they are authentic. You're going to believe them, and you're not going to enter into life. You're going to believe them. You're going to take it hook, line, and sinker. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because only by his Ruach HaKadosh are you going to be able to determine these fruits. Walk after Yahuwah your Elohim and fear him, and guard his commands, and obey his voice, and serve him, and cling to him.
Is my phone frozen? Did he cut off?
And cling to him. And that Nabi, or that dreamer of dreams, is put to death. Oh, Abba, I pray that you cut. I pray that you cut. Whether they hear or whether they forbear, I have spoken. Your messenger has spoken. Whether they hear or whether they forbear, their blood is not on my hands. Their blood is not on my hands. Because your servant has been obedient. And that Nabi, or that dreamer of dreams, is put to death because he has spoken apostasy against Yahuwah, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mashraim and ransomed you from the house of bondage to make you stray from the way in which Yahuwah, your Elohim, commanded you to walk. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. Shamut, Exodus, the 13th chapter. Turn here. Turn here. We're almost done. Turn here. Shamut, Exodus, the 13th chapter. Shamut, Exodus, the 13th chapter. Shamut, Exodus, the 13th chapter. Verses 1 through 16. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, Kadush to me all the firstborn, the one opening the womb among the children of YAHUAH, among man and among beast. It is mine. It is mine. And Master said to the people, remember this day in which you went out of Mashraim, out of the house of slavery. For by strength of hand, Yahuwah brought you out of this place. By strength of hand has he delivered us from the reign of Hashatan, provided that you have been born from above. If you have not been born from above, you're still in slavery because your flesh is bondage. Your flesh cannot and will not obey Torah. It cannot. It cannot. And if you are rejecting this righteous root, then you're still a resident of Egypt. You're still a servant of Pharaoh. You're still a servant of Hashatan. For by strength of hand, Yahuwah brought you out of this place. And whatever is leaven shall not be eaten. And whatever is leaven shall not be eaten. Indeed, we are commanded now to walk in the unleavened path of sincerity, in the unleavened path of sincerity and truth. We can only walk the unleavened path of sincerity and truth via his righteous Ruach HaKadosh, who writes his righteous Torah upon our hearts. Today you are going out in the new month, Abib, and it shall be when Yahuwah brings you into the land of the Kinaani, and the Kiti, and the Amori, and the Kiwi, and the Yabusi, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this new month. 7 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day is a festival to Yahuwah. Unleavened bread is to be eaten the 7 days, and whatever is leaven is not to be seen with you, and leaven is not to be seen with you within all your border. Indeed, no leaven, no crime is to be seen in us. We are to walk the unleavened path of sincerity and truth, which can only be accomplished via the indwelling of his righteous Ruach HaKadosh, who dwells in us and who writes this righteous Torah upon our hearts. Leaven is crime, unleaven is righteousness. We are to cause leaven to cease within these houses and walk in the unleavened path of righteousness, of sincerity and truth, which can only be accomplished by his righteous Ruach who dwells in us. And you shall inform your son in that day, saying, it is because of what Yahuwah did for me when I came up from Mashraim. And it shall be as a sign to you. Listen, underline this. And it shall be as a sign to you on your hand and as a reminder between your eyes, on your forehead, And it shall be as a sign to you on your hand and as a reminder between your eyes, on your forehead, that the Torah of Yahuwah is to be in your mouth. For with a strong hand, Yahuwah has brought you out of Mashraim. And you shall guard this law at its appointed time from year to year. And it shall be when Yahuwah brings you into the land of the Kanaani, as he swore to you and your fathers, and gives it to you, that you shall give over to Yahuwah everyone opening the womb, and every firstborn that comes from your livestock. The males belong to Yahuwah. But every firstborn of a donkey you are to ransom with a lamb. And if you do not ransom it, then you shall break its neck. And every firstborn of man among your sons you are to ransom. Indeed, this is symbolic, and this is a foreshadowing of Yahushua HaMashiach himself ransoming his firstborn son, ransoming his first fruit, ransoming the best of the oil and of the wine, which is the portion of the Kaham Gadol. This is a foreshadowing of the first fruit resurrection, of the first resurrection. And every firstborn of man among your sons you are to ransom. And it shall be when your son asks you in time to come, saying, what is this? Then you shall say to him, By strength of hand, Yahuwah brought us out of Mashraim. Yahuwah brought us out of Mashraim, out of the house of bondage. And it came to be when Par'ah was too hardened to let us go, that Yahuwah killed every firstborn in the land of Mashraim, with the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I am slaughtering to Yahuwah every male that opens the womb, but every firstborn of my sons I ransom. He ain't ransoming no one else. He's not ransoming. He's only ransoming his first fruit, his firstborn. Only those who have his very nature and his very character. Only those who operate in his very nature and his very character, which is Torah. Only those who are living Torahs, having the living Torah being written upon the heart. All those who are lukewarm, who reject the Ruach HaKadosh, who are not willing to give up all, who do not display his very nature and his very character. You are not his son, because you don't operate in his character. You do not operate in his character, and you're not going to resurrect in the first resurrection. You're going to resurrect in the second resurrection, where some are going to resurrect to everlasting life and some to everlasting punishment. And it shall be a sign, as a sign on your hand. On whose hand? On his firstborn son's hand. On his chosen's hand. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. A sign is on the hand of his chosen, of his firstborn. A sign is on their hand, and a sign is on their forehead between their eyes. This sign is on the forehead of his firstborn. For by strength of hand, Yahuwah brought us, his firstborn, out of Mashraim. For by strength of hand, Yahuwah brought us, his firstborn, out of Mashraim. And unless you have his Ruach, you're not his firstborn. You haven't been brought out of Mashraim. To be brought out of Mashraim means to be brought out of crime. It means to be brought out of bondage. It means to be brought out of the subjection of Hashatan. If you haven't been born from above, you're still a prisoner of Egypt. If you haven't been born from above, you do not have power to put this wicked flesh under subjection so that we no longer have to obey it. You're not his son. You don't have his character and his nature if you haven't been born from above. And if you haven't been born from above, then you can't guard Torah and Ruach and in truth. And if you haven't been born from above, then his sign is not on your hand and it is not on your forehead. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. Turn to Revelation, the 13th chapter. Revelation, the 13th chapter. Turn to Revelation, Kazum, the 13th chapter. Kazum, Revelation, the 13th chapter. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Turn to Kazum, Revelation, the 13th chapter. Reading verses 1 through 18. Verses 1 through 18. And I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads names of blasphemy. And the beast I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as having been slain to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And his deadly wound was healed. Indeed, I shared in the chat yesterday about the awakening of Namrud. These statues are all over the world. The awakening of Namrud. Namrud is the beast. Namrud is the beast that was and was not and is coming up out of the pit. He is the beast that one of his head suffered a deadly wound and he was slain indeed. In some accounts, in the account of Jasher, he was beheaded by Esau. In the account of Josephus, he was beheaded by Shem. He is the beast coming up out of the pit, whom the rook of Hashatan is going to dwell. Indeed, crime is getting ready to be made flesh. Crime is getting ready to be made flesh. As Torah was made flesh, crime as a copycat is getting ready to be made flesh. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And all the earth marveled after the beast, and they worshiped the dragon. It says here, and all the earth marveled after the beast. Indeed, I was told you, many are called, but few are chosen. Yes, he did. He has told you that many are called, but few are chosen. And all the earth marveled after the beast. And they worshiped the dragon, who gave authority to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who is able to fight with him? And he was given a mouth speaking great matters and blasphemies. And he was given authority to do so for 42 months, 3.5 years. And he opened his mouth in blasphemies against Elohim, to blaspheme his name, and his tent, and those dwelling in the Shamayim. And it was given to him to fight with the Kadush ones, and to overcome them. And authority was given to him over every tribe and tongue and nation, and all those dwelling on the earth, and all those dwelling on the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the slain Lamb from the foundation of the world, shall worship him. Shall worship him. In other words, if you haven't been born from above, you will worship him. You are going to worship him. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. He who brings into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword has to be killed with the sword. Here's the endurance and the belief of the Kadush ones. And I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, Namrud, whom Hashatan is going to indwell, whose deadly wound was healed. And he does great signs. And if you don't have the Ruach HaKadosh in you, you're going to believe these great signs. So that he even makes fire come down from the Shamayim on the earth before men. And he leads astray. And he leads astray those dwelling on the earth, because those signs which he was given to do before the beast, saying to those dwelling on the earth to make an image to the beast, who was wounded by the sword, yet lived. And that was given to him to give root to the image of the beast. This goes back to Babylon, to Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon, when an image was made there. When an image was made there. Namrud is the progenitor of Babylon. So it makes sense for another image to come, and he's going to demand that everybody bow down and worship that beast. Like Nebuchadnezzar, I commanded that everybody bow down and worship that beast, that image. And everyone who did not bow down to worship that image in Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon were thrown into a fire. Oh, it's coming. Persecution, indeed, is coming. Indeed, it's coming. That the image of the beast, let me start over. And that was given to him to give root to the image of the beast. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause to be killed as many as would not worship the image of the beast. There's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. What happened in the first Babylon is going to happen when when Babylon is made manifest. You see, this is the kingdom of Babylon. This is the reign of Babylon, in which the king of Babylon is going to rule from his throne, Namrud. in which Ashatan is going to indwell his body. But he is the anti-Mashiach. And many think that it's going to be some simple matter to identify him as the anti-Mashiach. If it were a simple matter, many would not be deceived. Many would not be deceived. Even some of the elect are going to be deceived. Even some of the elect are going to be deceived. Many are waiting for some physical mark. They're waiting for some physical mark to identify the anti-Mashiach. If you're waiting for a physical mark to identify the anti-Mashiach, you're already lost. You're already lost. Listen. And he calls us all, both small and great, and rich and poor, and free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads, and that no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is the Chokmah. He who has understanding, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. 666. You understand? This is all about worship. This is all about who you worship. This is all about who you worship. We ain't gonna go there yet. We ain't gonna go there yet. But the sign is all about who you worship. Who you worship. Let's look at 666 in the Greek tongue. It is Greek 5516. Greek 5516. And it is chi z stigma. Chi z stigma. Chi z stigma. And it means the 22nd, 14th, an obsolete letter as a cross of the Greek alphabet intermediate between the 5th and 6th, as a cross used as numbers denoting respectively 660 and 666 as a numeral, as a cross. Indeed, XG 666, or the mark of the image of the beast, is a cross. It is whom the Christians call Christ on a cross. It is whom they call Jesus on a cross. Yes, I'm speaking this here because perhaps there's some Christians listening on YouTube, but I'm not talking to Christians here on Zoom. Even some of you are going to be deceived. You don't believe in Jesus. I know you don't. You don't believe in Jesus Christ. I know you don't. You don't believe that that is the name. You know that that is a false name. So you're watching out for that. But it's not going to be even that simple. It isn't even going to be that simple. Yes, indeed, 666 is the anti-Mashiach. He is the beast. He is Namrud. And Jesus Christ is one of his names. He goes by many names. Baal and Malak and Odin, to name a few. Zeus, to name a few. Ra, to name a few. He also goes by Jesus Christ and Krishna. Yes, he do. He has many names. And Jesus Christ equates to 666. 666, Christ on the cross. It reads here, the Chi X abbreviation letter for Zulon, a beam from which anyone is suspended on a cross. Stigma, a stigma is a hole or a mark pierced with a pointed instrument on the hands. Chi X stigma is Strong's 5516. Stigma is also a cross. The stigma references being nailed to a cross. Plural, stigmata. And so indeed, this points towards Jesus the Christ. Yes, it does. As being the beast, as being the lawless one. Because most that worship him don't keep Torah. Most that worship him don't keep Torah. And this is the lawless one. This is the lawless one. But Abba sent me by today because he understands. Some of you know that. You understand that. You know that. But you're still operating in lawlessness because you reject this righteous root. And if you reject this righteous Ruach, you don't have his mark on your hand and on your forehead. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you reject this righteous Ruach, even now, you have the mark. You haven't bowed down to the beast yet. You haven't bowed down to him yet. But if you're listening under the sound of my voice, you'd better teshuvah. You had better teshuvah and begin to align yourself with his righteous Torah and cry out to him. Cry out to him for his righteous Ruach HaKadosh, to write his Torah upon your heart and to clothe your nakedness, to clothe your shame, to clothe your shame. Because if you don't have his Ruach, you're going to be deceived. If you don't have his Ruach, you don't have his mark. If you don't have his Ruach, you are tampering with. You were tampering with taking the mark of the beast. You're tampering with taking it. You're tampering with taking his mark. 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter. 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter. When he comes, he is going to deceive the whole entire earth. The whole entire earth. And if one doesn't have his Ruach, and if one doesn't have the Torah written upon his heart, if one is not guarding Torah right now, as if his very life depends on it, you're going to be deceived. You are going to be deceived. You are going to be deceived. 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter, verse 1 through 12. As the coming of our Master Yahushua Mashiach and our gathering together to him, we ask you, brothers, not to become easily unsettled in mind or troubled, either by Ruach or by word or by letter, as if from us, as if the day of Yahuwah has come. Let no one deceive you in any way, because the falling away, the apostasy is to come first. And the man of lawlessness, of Torahlessness, indeed, do not fool yourselves. If you don't have the indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh, you are living in lawlessness. You cannot obey Torah without the Ruach HaKadosh indwelling in you and having had the Torah written upon your heart. And thus you are in danger of serving the man of lawlessness. First, the falling away is to come first, and the man of lawlessness is to be revealed. The son of destruction. This is the beast. This is Namrud, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worship. Yes, this is all about worship. All about worship. So that he sits as Elohim in the dwelling place of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. Do you not remember that I told you this while I was still with you? And now you know what restrains. It is the Ruach HaKadosh. It is the living water that restrains. But when he turns off the water, when night comes, because man works during the day, but night comes when no man can work. When he turns the water off, when he removes the Ruach HaKadosh, when he turns the water off, when he removes the light, then the reign of darkness is going to be revealed. Then the reign of darkness is going to be revealed. Then you're going to regret not having listened to his servant crying out in the wilderness on this yom. And now you know what restrains for him to be revealed in his time. For the secret of lawlessness is already at work, only until he who now restrains comes out of the midst. And then the lawless one shall be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the ruach of his mouth, and bring to naught with the manifestation of his coming. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power and signs and wonders and falsehood. Torah is the only truth. Torah written upon our hearts is the only truth. Everything else is falsehood. Everything else is falsehood. And with all the seed of unrighteousness in those perishing, those who reject the Ruach HaKadosh and who reject this righteous Torah, because they did not receive the love of the truth, They did not receive the root of truth. They did not receive the root of truth. You cannot say that you receive Torah and reject the root of truth, who is Torah. Torah indeed is truth, but Torah is root. He is the living Torah. He is the root of truth. You cannot say that you love truth and receive the truth and reject the root of truth. You're a liar, and the truth ain't in you. You're a liar, and the truth ain't in you. If you reject the root of truth, the living Torah, and you are in danger of accepting his mark, in which many of you still think is a physical mark. But Abba sent me by to tell you that it is according to worship. It is in accordance with who you worship. Because they did not receive the love of the truth in order for them to be saved. And for this reason, Elohim sends them a working of delusion, for them to believe the falsehood, for them to believe the false Mashiach. Oh, he's going to be very deceptive. He's going to be very convincing. He's going to deceive the whole world. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. In order that all should be judged who did not believe the truth, but have delighted in unrighteousness. Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. We're almost done. Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24. Verse 23 and 24. Matthew chapter 24. Verse 23 and 24. If anyone then says to you, look, there is the Mashiach, or there, do not believe. For false Mashiachs and false Nabiim shall arise, and they shall show great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the chosen ones. If possible, even the chosen ones. So don't think that you are prepared and that you are ready for this false Mashiach. If you're not operating in Ruach, you're not prepared, and you are not ready. You are not ready. Even with the indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh, we are going to have to endure. Even with the indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh, we're going to have to endure. And we're going to have to lean and depend on Yahuwah Al-Yum unlike ever before. Turn now to 2 Esdras. 2 Esdras if you have it. The book of 2 Esdras. 2 Esdras. And I'm going to read the 7th chapter in its entirety. 2 Esdras. The 7th chapter. If you're reading from the Sephar, it would be 4 Esdras. 4 Esdras, the 7th chapter. If you're reading from the Sephar, it's 4 Esdras, the 7th chapter. If you have some other book, some other written compilation, it's 2 Esdras, the 7th chapter. And I'm going to read to you from the GNB translation. The GNB translation. I'm going to read to you from the GNB translations. 2 Esdras chapter 7. 4 Esdras chapter 7 from the Sephar. I'm going to read it in its entirety. And I'm reading from the GNB translation. The GNB translation. Many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. Beginning at verse 1 in 2 Esdras, the 7th chapter, it reads, when I had finished speaking, the same messenger that had been sent to me on the earlier nights appeared again. He said, stand up, Azra, and listen to what I have come to tell you. Go ahead, sir, I said. He continued, picture in your mind a broad, immense sea spreading over a vast area, but with an entrance no wider than a river. No one who wishes to enter that sea, whether to visit it or control it can reach its broad expanse of water without passing through the narrow entrance. Indeed, the way is narrow. The way to life is narrow. The way to damnation is broad. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. Or take another example. Picture a city on a plain. The city is full of all kinds of good things, but the entrance to it is narrow and steep, with fire on one side and deep water on the other. The one path between the fire and the water is so narrow that only one person at a time may walk on it. That only one person at a time may walk on it. Indeed, that needle, that eye of that needle, only one person at a time can get through. And it is so narrow. It is so narrow that we're not going to be able to take anything with us to squeeze through it. If you try to take anything with you, if you try to take your husband with you, or your wife with you, or your children with you, or your brother or your sister with you, if you try to take your son or your daughter with you, you're not going to be able to squeeze through this hole. Indeed, he has told you, unless you give up all, you can't be his taught one. Unless you give up all, you can't enter through this hole. Unless we give up all, we cannot be his taught ones. Indeed, narrow is the way to life. Many are called, but few are chosen. Only those who are willing to give up all, whom the Ruach HaKodesh indwells, will enter into life and will enter through the narrow path. If anyone enters the city, he cannot take possession of his inheritance without passing through this dangerous entrance. If anyone enters this city, Yerushalayim, he cannot take possession of his inheritance without passing through this dangerous entrance. That is right, sir, I said. That is how it is with the people of YAHUAH. He added, I made this world for their sake. But when Adam broke my commands, the world came under my judgment. Then the entrances into this world were made narrow and difficult to travel. They were rough, dangerous, and few in number. But the entrances to the great world to come are wide and safe and lead to immortality. But everyone who lives must walk the narrow and meaningless ways of this world in order to receive the barakut, which is to falsely say blessings stored up in the world to come. So Azra, why are you upset and disturbed by the thought that you are mortal and must die? Why don't you think about the age to come rather than the present age? I answered, Yahuwah and Master, in your law, in your Torah, you said that the righteous would receive all these barakut, but that the wicked would perish. So the righteous can endure all the difficulties of the narrow way because they look forward to the broad and open life of the future. But the wicked must pass through the narrow way without any expectation of seeing the broad open light. The messenger replied, do you think you are a better judge than Elohim? Do you think you are more kakum or more prudent than Elohim Al-Yun? It is better to let many people of the present age perish. It is better to let many people of the present age perish than to allow them to neglect the Torah that Elohim has given them. Elohim has given clear commandments to everyone coming into this world, telling what they should do to obtain life and to avoid punishment. But the wicked would not listen and refuse to obey him in their foolishness. They have made their own wicked and deceitful plans. They denied the existence of Elohim Al-Yun. and refuse to follow his ways. They have rejected his Torah. Indeed, you cannot say that you receive his Torah, which is truth, and reject the root of truth, who is the living Torah, and refuse to accept his promises. Disobeyed. Indeed, you can't say you accept his promises and refuse the root of promise. You can't. No, you can't. Disobeyed his decrees and failed to do what he commanded. That's the reason, Azra, that there is emptiness for the empty and fullness for the full. The Messianic kingdom and the final, okay, that's the title, the Messianic kingdom and the final judgment. The time is coming when these signs will take place. The invisible city will appear, and the land that is now hidden will be seen. Everyone who survives the calamities I have predicted will also see the wonderful things I will do. My son, the Mashiach, will be revealed together with those who come with him. He will bring 400 years of happiness, and this equates to 1,000 years. This is the 1,000-year millennial rest. He will bring 400 years of happiness or gladness to all these survivors. At the end of that time, my son, the Mashiach, and all human beings will die. Indeed, flesh and blood cannot inherit the reign of Shamayim. This is not the reign of Shamayim. In the millennial reign, there will still be flesh and blood. There will still be flesh and blood. Yahuwah will still be inhabiting the body of the Mashiach. He will still be inhabiting the body of the Mashiach. We won't see a Yahuwah in fullness until the Shamayim and the Rats passes away. And we are given new esteemed bodies. And at that point, we will look like him. We will look exactly like him because we will see him as he is. And so even the body that the HaMashiach is inhabiting at that point will have to die, would have to be destroyed. Then the world will return to its original silence. And for 7 days, it will be like it was at the beginning. No one will be left alive. After 7 days, this corrupt age will pass out of existence, and a new age will be awakened. The ground will give up the dead who sleep. This is the second resurrection. This is the second resurrection in which some will resurrect to everlasting life, and some will resurrect to everlasting punishment. The Messianic kingdom is the first fruit resurrection. But happy or glad are those who take part in the first resurrection, and which the second death has no power. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. The ground will give up the dead who sleep there in silence, and the souls of the dead will be released from the places where they have been kept. We read about this earlier. Yahuwah Al-Yum will appear on his judgment seat. We spoke about this earlier, or rather Abba spoke about this earlier if you were listening. Yahuwah Al-Yum will appear on his judgment seat. Listen, compassion and patience will vanish completely. He told you about this earlier as well. Compassion and patience will vanish completely and be replaced by judgment. It's going to be replaced by right ruling. It's going to be replaced by Torah. By Torah. Truth and trustworthiness will once again stand firm. The good and bad that people have done will be fully revealed, and reward and punishment will follow immediately. The pit of torment, the fires of Shaul, will appear, and opposite them, the paradise of gladness and rest. Then Yahuwah Al-Yum will say to the nations that have been raised from the dead, look, I am the one whom you have denied and refused to serve. I am the one in whom's rook you have refused. You trampled on my offering because you refused the rook. You trampled on the very reason that I offered myself and was to send my rook, and that is to send my righteous rook back so that he could indwell in you, so that you could have life, so that you could obey my righteous Torah in ruah and in truth. I am the one, and he spoke earlier, if you have rejected his righteous rook, then you are still a Gentile. Then you are still part of the nations. You are still part of the nations. You are. You're not his son unless you have his Ruach in you. You're not his son unless you've been reborn. Yahuwah is Ruach. He is not flesh and blood. And unless we have been born of Ruach, we are not his son. We have rejected him. And just like 600,000 men on foot, not counting the women, perished in the wilderness, many are going to perish in the wilderness of the nations because they have rejected his righteous Ruach, who writes his Torah upon our hearts and places a sign upon our hand and upon our forehead and causes us to operate in the very nature and character of our Father as firstborn sons, the beginning of our Father's strength, looking like him, acting like him, speaking like him, doing what he does, having his very nature and his very character. It reads here, look, I am the one whom you have denied and refused to serve. You can't serve him without having his Ruach HaKodesh. You cannot serve him without having his Ruach HaKodesh indwelling in you. Don't fool yourself. You cannot. It is my commands that you have rejected. We cannot obey his commands without having them written upon our hearts. We cannot. We cannot. Look around you. There is gladness and shalom in one direction, fire and torment in the other. That is what he will say to them on Judgment Day. On Judgment Day, there will be no sun, moon, or stars, no cloud, thunder, or lightning, no wind, water, or air, no darkness, evening, or morning, no summer, spring, or winter, no heat, frost, or cold, no hail, rain, or dew, no noon, night, or dawn, no daylight, brightness, or light. The only light will be the dazzling brightness of Yahuwah, Al-Yun, making it possible for everyone to see. This precepts to Revelation, the 21st chapter. This precepts to Revelation, the 21st chapter. Indeed, when we move into eternity, where there is no more time and no more need for a sun or moon or stars or wind or frost or any of those things, and the only light will be the light of Yahuwah. This precepts to Revelation 21. That's the arrangement I have made for Judgment Day. But I have revealed these things only to you. Then I said, Yahuwah, I repeat what I said earlier. How fortunate are the people who can live now and obey your commands. Barak Yahuwah. You have an opportunity to tashuba, to have him cover your nakedness and your crime, to seek him with all your heart, mind, and strength, to cry to him for his righteous Ruach HaKodesh, to cry to him to be filled with his righteous Ruach HaKodesh, to align yourself with his righteous Torah so that it washes you, so that you are prepared to receive his righteous Ruach HaKodesh in you. But what about those whom I have been praying? There is no one in the present generation who has not committed crime. No one who has not broken your covenant. Now I understand that the world to come will bring gladness to what? To only a few. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. Will bring gladness to only a few, but torment to many. But torment to many. The evil impulse within us has grown, and it has led us away from Elohim's ways, brought us to ruin, put us on the way to death and destruction, and taken us from life. It has destroyed not only a few, but almost everyone who was ever created. Listen to me, the messenger said, and I will teach you further and correct your thinking. Because only a few will be saved. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. Because only a few will be saved. This is not a game. It's not a game. It's not a game. Elohim created two worlds instead of only one. As you say, only a few people are righteous, but there are large numbers of wicked people. But listen, if you had only a few precious stones, would you add lumps of lead and clay to them in order to have more? Surely no one would do that, sir, I answered. Take another illustration, he continued. The earth herself will give you an answer if you humbly ask it, whether it produces more gold, silver, copper, iron, lead, or clay. There is more silver than gold, more copper than silver, more iron than copper, more lead than iron, more clay than lead. So judge for yourself which are more desirable and valuable, common things or rare things. I answered, Yahuwah and Master, the common things are cheap. The common things are cheap. The many are cheap, but the few, but the rare things that are valuable. All right, he replied. So draw the logical conclusion. The person who has what is scarce has more reason to be pleased than the person who has what is plentiful. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. It's not a game. It's the same with the judgment that I have promised. I will be pleased with the few who will be saved, because they are the ones who now praise and honor me and make my name known, who give him the bulls of their lips, who bring him their food at the appointed time, who give him their whole heart, their whole nephesh, and their whole strength, and who are willing to give up all for him. These are the few. I will not be sad about the large number of people who will be lost, because even now they last no longer than a vapor. They disappear like fire and smoke. They catch fire, blaze up, and quickly go out. Then I said to the earth, look at what you have done. When you gave birth to the rest of creation, you gave birth to reason. It would have been better if you had never been created. Then we humans would never have had the power of reasoning. But as it is now, our reason grows up with us and then torments us, because we realize that we are going to die. Compared with us who must bear this sorrow, the dumb animals must be glad. They are much better off than we are. They do not have to look forward to the judgment. They are not aware of any torment or salvation that is promised to them after death. What good is it to us that we are going to be given life in the future if it is to be a life of terrible torment? Everyone who is born is caught in the web of crime, is full of wickedness, and burdened with guilt. It's burden of guilt. But I call your attention to the words of Sha'al when he says, who shall deliver me from this body of crime and death? And he says, thanks be to Yahuwah, to Yahushua HaMashiach. Thanks be to Yahushua HaMashiach. It goes on in Romans chapter 8 to declare there is now no condemnation to those who are in Yahushua HaMashiach, who walk not according to the flesh, but according to the root. Because those who walk according to the flesh are going to die, but those who walk in accordance with the Ruach HaKadosh are going to live. Barak Yahuwah. But if you continue to reject him, you're going to die. You're going to die. I think it would be better if after death we did not have to face judgment. The messenger replied, when Yahuwah Al-Yun was creating the world, as well as Adam and his descendants, the first thing he did was to get everything ready for the judgment. So you ought to learn from your own words. You said that your reason grows up with you. And that's the point. The people of this world used their reason and committed crime. They received Elohim's commands, but did not keep them. They accepted the Torah and then disobeyed it. Indeed, we cannot keep the Torah without his righteous Ruach indwelling in us. And that is why they will suffer torment. What excuse can they offer at the judgment? How can they answer at the last day? YAHUAH'S has been very patient with the people of this world for a long time, but it has not been for their sake. He has done it for the sake of the age to come. Then I said, Sir, may I ask you, please, to explain to me what happens when we die, when we must give back our soul, our nafesh. Will we be kept at rest until the time when you begin to make your new creation? Or will our torment begin immediately? I will answer that question also, he replied. But do not include yourself among those who will be tormented because they have no use for worship. It says religion here, but this word is worship. I will answer that question also, he replied, but do not include yourself among those who will be tormented because they have no use for worship. Why does he say this to Azra? Because Azra had his Ruach HaKadosh. The indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh was in him. Indeed, in the words of Yahuchanan of John, perfect love casts out fear. If we have love, then we have no fear of punishment. No, we don't. Because his righteous Ruach dwells in us, and he reassures us. He affirms us. He shows us that he is with us. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. And so we fear not punishment, because perfect love casts out fear. After all, you have a treasure of good works stored up with Elohim, with YAHUAH, all Ayun, which will not be shown to you until the last days. But to answer your question about death, when YAHUAH all Ayun has pronounced the final decree that a person shall die, the soul leaves the body to return to the one who gave it. Immediately it praises the esteem of YAHUAH all Ayun. Let me explain first about people who had no use for the ways of YAHUAH all Ayun and hated those who worship him. Indeed, many hate me. Many hate me because of the words that YAHUAH speaks through me. Many hate me because I worship him in Ruach and in truth. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Perhaps some of you may hate me because of the words that are spoken through his servant. That is okay. I didn't come by to tickle any ears. I didn't come by to make friends. I am a messenger of truth, and I must speak truth. Let me explain first about people who had no use of the ways of YAHUAH all Ayun. And I repeat again that unless you have his righteous Ruach in you, you have no use of the ways of YAHUAH all Ayun. And hated those who worship him. Indeed, these are the ones that hate. You cannot hate your brother whom you see and say you love YAHUAH. And you cannot love. One cannot love without having the Ruach of love in them. Because YAHUAH is love. He is love. And unless he dwells in us, we cannot love. Because we cannot obey Torah and Ruach and in truth. And this is the way that we show love. And this is indeed the way that we worship. This is the way that we worship. There is no place where their souls can go for rest. They must wander about forever in torment, grief, and sorrow. Their torment will progress in 7 stages. Firstly, they ignore the Torah of YAHUAH all Ayun. Secondly, they can no longer make a sincere repentance and obtain life. Thirdly, they see the reward stored up for those who put their belief in the covenants of YAHUAH all Ayun. Fourthly, they think about the torment that has been stored up for them in the last days. Fifthly, they see messengers guarding the homes of other souls in complete silence. Sixthly, they recognize that they must soon be tormented. Seventhly, and worst of all, when they see the esteem of YAHUAH all Ayun, they are sick with remorse and shame. Oh yes. Oh yes. Shame equals nakedness. Shame equals nakedness. He sends his righteous servants to proclaim Torah. And he gives us the Torah to expose our shame right now, so that a righteous sorrow would come upon us, to cause us to seek him, to seek forgiveness, so that he would cover our shame, so that he would put clothing on us, so that he would clothe us in his righteousness and cover our nakedness and cover our shame. But make no mistake about it, when you're standing before his judgment seat, the great white throne, you're going to be naked. Nothing is going to be hidden. You're going to be naked. Everything is going to be revealed before his eyes. Everything is going to be revealed before his eyes. And you're going to be sick. So sick with remorse and shame, you're not going to know what to do. But there's not going to be any more time for repentance there. No more time for remorse there. No more time to be shameful there. You're going to be naked throughout all eternity. You're going to be remorseful throughout all eternity. You're going to be sick throughout all eternity, never having an opportunity to repent again. They cringe in fear because while they were living, they committed crime against him. They committed crime against him. Indeed, crime is everything that is contrary to his will. Everything that is contrary to the words that come forth from his mouth, that come forth from his heart and his mind. And unless we have his righteous root, we don't know his heart and his mind. We don't know it. We don't know it. Unless we have his righteous root, we're still operating in our flesh. We're still descendants of the first Adam. We're still children of Hashatan. Unless you've been reborn, you're still a son of Hashatan. And as a son or a daughter of Hashatan, you're going to perish with him. You're going to receive the punishment with him unless you're born from above. Because while they were living, they committed crime against him. And now they're about to come before him to be judged on the last day. Now let me explain about those who followed the ways of Elohim, of YAHUAH'S, and what will happen when the time comes for them to leave their mortal bodies. While they lived on earth through constant difficulty and danger, they served YAHUAH'S and carefully kept the Torah given by the Torah giver. This is what they will receive. They will celebrate when they see the great esteem of Yahuwah. He will receive them. He will receive them. In the Ba'it Kadashah, it says there, he says, well done, my good and my trustworthy servant. He will receive them, and they will enter their rest in 7 stages of gladness. The first gladness is to have struggled hard and won the tashua over the evil impulse which was formed in them, but which did not succeed in leading them from life into death. I'm going to read it again. The first gladness is to have struggled hard and won the tashua over the evil impulse which was formed in them, but which did not succeed in leading them from life into death. You understand? This is why we must be born from above. We must be reborn of the Ruach of Yahuwah, of Yahushua HaMashiach. Because if we are reborn, we will not give in to the evil impulse which is formed within us. And it will not succeed in leading us from life into death. If we have this Ruach HaKadosh within us, we're no longer under any obligation to obey the evil impulses that is within us, the evil inclination of our flesh. Indeed, if we are reborn, we will live. If we are not reborn, we will die. If we're reborn, we can righteously keep his Torah in root and in truth. If we're not reborn, we cannot. We cannot. And if we do not, indeed, the wages of crime is still death. The wages of crime is still death. The second is to see the endless wandering of the souls in the forest of the wicked and the punishment that is waiting for them. The third is to know what a good report their Maker was given about them, that during their lifetime they kept the Torah that was entrusted to them. The fourth is to appreciate the rest that they are to enjoy in the place where they have been brought together, guarded by messengers, in complete silence, and with the esteem that is waiting for them at the last day. The fifth is to celebrate that they have now escaped the corrupt world and will receive the future life as their possession. They can see both the narrow, troubled world from which they have been freed and the spacious world they will receive and enjoy forever. The sixth is to be shown how their faces will shine like the sun. We spoke about this last week. And how they are to be like the light of the stars, the kukabim, that never die. The seventh gladness, and best of all, is when they rush to meet Yahuwah face to face. Oh, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Oh, I can't wait to see you, Abba. Oh, Abba, I can't wait to see you, Abba. Oh, I can't wait to see you, Abba. I love you with all of me, and I can't wait to see you face to face. I can't wait to see you, Abba. Oh, I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to see you. The seventh gladness, and best of all, oh, Abba, I can't wait to see you. Oh, Abba, I can't wait to see you. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. You are all that matters. If I can't see you, take me now. Because you are all that matters. You are all that matters, Abba. You are all that matters. You and you alone, you are all that matter. You are all that matter. You are all that matter. I don't care for nothing else, Abba. You are all that matters to me. You are all that matter. You are all that matter. You are all that matter. The seventh gladness, and best of all, is when they rush to meet Yahuwah face to face with perfect trust and gladness, without any fear. Because perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love casts out fear. Without any fear or shame. Without any fear or shame. You see, this is why Adam and Kua, as long as they obeyed Torah in the garden, they had no fear. And they had no shame. They had no knowledge that they were naked. They ran around the garden like two newborn babies, free and glad, having no fear and no shame. They didn't even know that they were naked. As long as they obeyed Torah, their shame wasn't exposed. Their shame was only exposed until it wasn't exposed until they disobeyed Torah. Until they disobeyed Torah. They served him during their lifetime, and now they will receive from him their reward and esteem. These rewards that I have been telling you about are those that have been prepared for the souls of the righteous. I described to you earlier the torment that the rebellious will suffer. Then I asked, when the souls of the righteous are separated from their bodies, will they be given time to see what you have done, what you have told me about? They will be free for 7 days, he answered. And during that time, they will be able to see the things I have told you about. After that, they will be brought together with the other souls in their homes. Then I said, Sir, please tell me whether the righteous will be able to ask Yahuwah al-Ayyun to show compassion on the unrighteous on Judgment Day. Will fathers be able to pray for their children, children for parents, brothers for brothers, relatives for those near to them, and friends for those dear to them? I will be glad to tell you, he replied. Judgment Day is final, and sets the seal on truth for all to see. You know that in this age, a father cannot send his son to be sick for him, or sleep, or eat, or to be healed for him. An owner cannot send his slave to do these things for him, nor can a person send his best friend in the same way on that day. No one will be able to pray for another person. Each person will receive the punishment or reward for his own criminal behavior or righteousness. If that is so, I answered, how can we explain that what we find in the scriptures? Abraham prayed for the people of Sodom, and Masha for our ancestors who committed crime in the desert. Later, Yahushua prayed for the people of Yasharal in the time of Achan. And Shamuel prayed for them in the days of Shaul. Daud prayed at the time of the epidemic. And Shalamah prayed for those who were going to worship in the temple, in the Haikal. All Yahu prayed that the people might have rain and for a dead person to come back to life. Hezekiah prayed for the people during the time of Sennacherib. And there are many other examples. If righteous people prayed for the unrighteous during such times when corruption increased and injustice multiplied, why won't the same thing happen at the judgment day? The present age is not the end of everything, the messenger answered. Even in this age, the esteemed presence of Yahuwah is not always seen. That is why the strong have prayed for the weak during this age. But the judgment day will be the end of the present age and the beginning of the future age. And then, indeed, it would be immediately after the 7,000-year millennial rest and moving into the last great day, the 8,000 year, moving into eternity. Moving into eternity. But the judgment day will be the end of the present age. Indeed, it will. At the end of the millennial reign, the great judgment seat of Yahuwah will appear. And then we will move into endless time. Endless time. The great judgment seat will be revealed on the 8th day, the last great day. This is the last day. The judgment day is the last great day. Sukkot points towards this. The 8th day is the last great day. This is the judgment day. After the last great day, which is the judgment day, we will move into eternity. We will move into eternity. But the judgment day will be the end of the present age and the beginning of the future age. Then all corruption will end. Self-indulgence and disloyalty will be eliminated. Righteousness and truth will reach their full maturity. So on judgment day, no one will be able to have compassion on those who have been condemned, and no one will be able to harm those who have been acquitted. I answered, I made this point before, and I will make it again. It would have been better if the earth had never produced Adam, or when it had done so, if it had made him so that he could not commit crime. What good is it for any of us to have life in the present age, when it is full of misery, and when all who can look forward to after death is punishment? O Adam, what have you done? Your crime was not only your own downfall, it was also the downfall of all of us who are your descendants. This is why we must be born of the second Adam. This is why we must be reborn of the second Adam. If you are not reborn of the second Adam like the first Adam, you're going to die. You're not going to enter into life. What good is it to us that we have the promise of immortal life when we have committed crimes that condemn us to death? What good is the expectation of eternity when we find ourselves in such a completely expectingless situation? What good is it that safe and secure homes have been prepared for us in the future world when we have lived such wicked lives? What good is the promise that the esteemed presence of Yahuwah Al-Ayyum will protect those who have lived pure lives when our own lives have been so full of crime? What good is it that paradise is shown to us, that its imperishable fruit can heal us and provide all we need? We can never go there because we have lived unacceptable lives. What good is it that the forces of those who practice self-control, let me start over. What good is it that the faces of those who practice self-control will shine more brightly than the stars, than the kukabin, when our own faces will be blacker than the night? Never in our whole lives, when we committed crime, did we think about what we would have to suffer after death. The messenger replies, this is the meaning of the conflict that every person on earth must endure. This is the meaning of the conflict that every person on earth must endure. If he is defeated, he must suffer the things you have just told me about. You see, this is why it says that we are what? That we are more than conquerors in Yahushua HaMashiach. You see, we cannot be defeated if his Ruach dwells in us. But if his Ruach doesn't dwell in us, then crime will defeat us. It will defeat us, and this will be the fate. This will be the fate. The messenger replied, this is the meaning of the conflict that every person on earth must endure. If he is defeated, he must suffer the things you have just told me about. But if he has the Tashua, I don't say victorious because victory is a pagan Greek goddess. A pagan Greek goddess. Tashua is a clean Abarite word. He will receive the rewards that I have just mentioned. Let me start over. If he is defeated, he must suffer these things you have just told me about. But if he has the Tashua, he will receive the rewards that I have just mentioned. Indeed, we are more than conquerors through Yahushua HaMashiach, provided you have been reborn of his Ruach. That is why Masha long ago urged the people to choose life so that they might live. Life in presenting the Torah to them. Presenting the Torah where there is life. But Abba has already told you that you can't guard Torah unless the living Torah is in you. Unless you've been reborn of Ruach and the living Torah having been written upon your heart. You can't guard Torah. You can't. But they did not believe him, all the Nabiim who came after him. And they did not believe me when I spoke to them. So the sadness over their destruction is nothing compared with the great gladness over the salvation over those who believe, the Yeshua of those who believe. I answered, sir, I know that Yahuwah Al-Ayun is spoken of as compassionate because he shows compassion to those who have not entered this world. He is called compassionate because he shows compassion to those who repent, Tashubah, and obey his Torah. He's talking. He's speaking. He's speaking to some who are naked. He's speaking to some who are naked. Indeed, he has sent his servant to convict those who are naked of their nakedness, so as to repent, to tashubah, so that he can clothe you and cover your nakedness and clothe you in his righteousness. He is called compassionate because he shows compassion to those who tashubah and obey his Torah. And indeed, I have to repeat again that you can't obey his Torah without his righteous root having entered you and having written his Torah upon your heart. He is thought of as patient because he is patient with his own creatures who have committed crime. He is known as generous because he prefers to give rather than to demand. And he is known as very forgiving because he continues to forgive criminals of the past, present, and future. If he did not continue to forgive, there would be no chayi, life, for this world or the people in it. Oh, he is compassionate. He is compassionate. Even him sending his servant by today to rebuke is compassion. It is compassion. He is spoken of as pardoning, because if it were not for his goodness in pardoning criminals, not one person in 10,000 would gain life. Chayi. If he is called judge, because he pardons and blots out the many crimes of those who were created by his word. If he did not, only a handful of the whole human race would be left. Only a handful of the whole human race would be left. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. Only a few are going to enter into life. If you look at the world, the 6,000 plus years that it has been in existence, since before and after the flood, and look at all of the people that have been born and have existed upon the face of this flat plain earth, only a few of them, only a few that have been born of woman is going to enter into life. Only a few that has been born of woman is going to enter into life. Many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Matthew 24, and now we're really almost done. Matthew 24. Matthew 24. Matthew 24. Many, the whole earth is going to be deceived by the lawless one. They are going to be deceived by the lawless one. Many. Sure, Christians are going to be deceived because they don't understand that Jesus Christ, Krishna, Baal, Namrud, Ra, Malak is the one that they're serving. 666. They don't know. They don't know that they're serving a lawless one because they're walking in lawlessness. But what is this to say about those who know about Namrud and who know that Jesus the Christ is Namrud and that he's the man of lawlessness? What are we to say about them who are still operating in lawlessness because you reject his righteous ruach, who alone can cause us to operate in ruach and in truth? Who alone can operate, who can cause us to obey Torah in ruach and in truth. Matthew chapter 24, verse 36 through 42. You see those two who know the truth but reject the truth are in grave danger of serving the lawless one, of worshiping the lawless one when he is revealed, when he is manifested. He is already revealed when he is manifested. When the kingdom of Babylon is physically manifested in this earth. And the first king, the first Malak of Babylon, Namrud, is manifested. You're in danger of worshiping him. Verse 36 through 42. But concerning that day and the hour, no one knows. Not even the messengers of the Shamayim, but my Father only. And as the days of Noach, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. For as they were in the days before the flood, eating and drinking, marrying, giving away in marriage, unto the day that Noach entered the ark. And they did not know until the flood came and took them all away. So also shall be the coming of the Son of Adam be. Then two shall be in a field. You see, now he's talking about a separation here. Oh, sure, he's talking about sheep and goats. He's talking about sheep and goats. But he's also talking about the clean and the unclean. He's also talking about Yasha'al and Esau. And he's also talking about those who have a mark. He's also talking about those who have a mark. Those who have the mark of Yahuwah and those who have the mark of the lawless one. Those who have the mark of Yahuwah and those who have the mark of the lawless one. Yes, he's making a distinction. He's making a separation. Most are going to have the mark of the lawless one. Very few are going to have the mark of Yahuwah. Very few. If it were not so, it would make him a liar. He said, many are called, but few are chosen. And so very few are going to have the true mark of Yahuwah. The majority are going to have the mark of the lawless one. Then two shall be in the field. The one is taken and the one left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. One is taken and one is left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your master is coming. Your master is coming. Turn real quickly to 2 Ezra. If you're in the Safar, it's 4 Ezra. 2 Ezra. If you're in the Safar, it's 4 Ezra. The 13th chapter. The 13th chapter. The 13th chapter of 2 Ezra. If you're in the Safar, it's 4 Ezra. For Ezra in the Safar, Safar, the 13th chapter, 2 Ezra, if you're reading outside of Safar, chapter 13, verse 1 through 16. And again, we're almost done. We're almost done. Verse 1 through 16, beginning at verse 1. And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that a man waxed strong with the thousands of Shamayim. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that was seen under him. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth fails when it feels the fire. And after this I beheld, and look, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the Shamayim to subdue the man. This is the beast and those who are following him. This is the beast and those who are following him. And it says here, there was gathered together a multitude of men. A multitude of men. Indeed, there was a great multitude that's going to follow the beast. Very few are not going to follow him. Very few. From the four winds of the Shamayim to subdue the man that came out of the sea. But I beheld, and looked, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereabout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and looked, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet dared fight. And look, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, multitude, most are going to follow after the beast. Very few are going to have the mark or the sign of Yahuwah. He neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he had sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out spark and tempest. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up everyone, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, indeed, many are called, few are chosen. Most are going to follow the beast. Many are going to think that he is the anti-Mashiach. I meant to say many are going to think that he is the Mashiach. They are going to think that he is the Mashiach. And that he's going to make them think that the true Mashiach is the anti-Mashiach. It's not going to be that easy. He's going to deceive people. And if you're operating in Torahlessness or lawlessness, and indeed, if you don't have the indwelling of his root, you're still operating in Torahlessness, you're going to be deceived by him. You're going to be deceived by him. An innumerable multitude is going to be deceived by him. Only a few are going to recognize him. So that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid afterward. I was afraid. Afterward, I saw the same man come down from the mountain and call unto him another shalom-filled multitude. Another shalom-filled multitude. And there came much people unto him, whereof some were glad, some were sorry, and some of them were bound. And other some brought of them that were offered, and other some brought of them that were offered. They were slain. They were slain. Then I was sick through great fear, and I awakened and said, you have showed your servant these wonders from the beginning, and have counted me worthy that you should receive my prayer. Show me now yet the interpretation of this dream. For as I conceive in my understanding, woe unto them that shall be left. Woe unto them that shall be left in those days. And much more woe unto them that are not left behind. Two shall be at the meal, one shall be taken, one shall be left. One shall be taken, one shall be left. Many are called, few are chosen. For as I conceive in my understanding, woe unto them that shall be left in those days, and much more woe unto them that are not left behind. That are not left behind. You see, if you're a Christian listening via YouTube, the YAHUAH'S is our home. We're not going to heaven. We're not going to Shamayim. The YAHUAH'S is our home. This is where the millennial reign is going to be. This is where YAHUAH'S throne is going to make its home when there is a renewed YAHUAH'S and a renewed Shamayim, when the renewed Jerusalem comes down to make its abode amongst men on earth. Ain't nobody going to heaven. And so if you are taken, Christian, in some fake rapture, then you are not the chosen, because the chosen are going to be left. The chosen are going to be left. Turn real quickly, Mashpaka, to Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25. Matthew chapter 25. Beginning at verse 1. I'm not going to read it in its entirety. I think I'm going to read down through verse 10 or 11. Then the reign of the Shamayim shall be compared to 10 maidens, who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Indeed, thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Torah is light. Indeed, Torah is light. And 5 of them were Chacham, and 5 foolish. Those who were foolish, having taken their lamps, took no oil with them. They took not the anointing. They took not the indwelling of the Ruach HaKodesh, who was the oil that fuels the light of Torah, who is the oil that gives us the ability and the love for Torah, and who gives us the ability to obey it in Ruach and in truth. He is the oil that fuels the light of Torah. Those who are foolish, having taken their lamps, took no oil with them. Indeed, there are many who are attempting to obey Torah without the oil in their lamps. Without the oil in their lamps. There are some here. There's some here who are gathering, who are attempting to obey Torah without having oil in your lamps. And the text says that you are foolish maiden. You are a foolish maiden. But the Chacham took oil in their containers. The Chacham took the indwelling of the Ruach HaKodesh with them. I pray that you understand that the oil represents the anointing. Anointing as being anointed with oil. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The oil is a representation of the Ruach HaKodesh, who fuels the light of Torah. But the Chacham took all of their containers with their lamps. Now while the bridegroom took time, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight a cry was heard, see, the bridegroom is coming, go out to meet him. Then all those maidens rose up and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the Chacham, give us of your oil, because our lamps are going out. I'm telling you right now, Mishpachah, I love you. I do. I love you. And I love to show you that I love you. But I'm not giving you a drop of my oil. I'm not giving you a drop of the oil that Abba has deposited into me. You must go to those who buy and sell, who sell and buy your own. You can get it without cost. You can get this without cost by going to the feet of the Master and crying out to him, asking him to cover your nakedness, to cover your crime, and to pour out his ruach upon you. You can do this yourself. You can do this yourself. But the Chacham answered, saying, no, indeed, there will not be enough for us and you. Instead, go to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast. Indeed, there was 5. 5 were chosen, 5 were not. Indeed, many are called, few were chosen. 5 is a little number, is a small number. Many are called, few are chosen. Only those who have the indwelling of the Ruach HaKodesh, who have his sign on their hand and on their forehead, who have the Torah written upon their hearts, whereby giving them a love for Torah, and whereby giving them a willingness to obey Torah in Ruach and in truth, having the oil, having the indwelling of the oil, which fuels the light of Torah, which fuels the light of Torah. We are the lamp. We are the lamp. We are the container. We are the lamp. And the door was shut. Let me read this again. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast. And the door was shut. And later the other maidens also came, saying, Master, Master, open up for us. But he answering said, truly I say to you, I do not know you. I do not know you. Watch therefore, because you do not know the day nor the hour in which the Son of Adam is coming. For it is like a man going forth from his home, who called his own servants and delivered his possessions to them. To them. I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to read about the talents. You can continue reading at your own leisure. You can read this entire chapter on your own as you want. But the hour is late, and I got a couple of more precepts to read, and I want to get through this message, this proclamation. Hazon Revelation 7, verse 1 through 3. But I pray that you understand now. That you understand. Only those who obey Torah are going to enter into life. And we can only obey Torah via his righteous ruach indwelling in us. And if his righteous ruach indwells us, his Torah has been written upon our hearts, and the sign of Yahuwah has been placed upon our hand and upon our foreheads. Chazon Revelation chapter 7, verse 1 through 8. Revelation chapter 7, verse 1 through 8. Revelation chapter 7, verse 1 through 8. And after this I saw 4 messengers standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, and that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw a messenger coming up from the rising of the sun, holding a seal of the living Elohim, holding the seal, the mark of the living Elohim. As I already told you, that those who have his ruach have his seal. Those who have his ruach have the mark on their hand and on their foreheads. Yes, they do. Those who have his ruach have his seal. Also his commandments. His Torah is his seal. His Torah is his seal. His Torah, the living Torah, is his seal written upon our hearts and written upon our hands and upon our foreheads. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 messengers to whom it was given to harm the earth and the sea, saying, do not harm the earth nor the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our Elohim upon their foreheads. Until we have sealed the servants of our Elohim upon their foreheads. Indeed, the Torah and the living Torah written upon our hearts is the seal, is the sign, is the mark which separates the people of Elohim from the people of the beast. This is the mark that is upon our hand and upon our foreheads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed. Only a few. 144,000. Sealed out of all the tribes of the children of Yasha'al. Of the tribe of Yahudah, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Rahuban, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of God, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Asher, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Manasseh, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Shamaun, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Louis, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Issachar, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Zabulun, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Yahusah, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Benjamin, 12,000 were sealed. Now, if we go on reading verse 9, we understand that coming out of the great distress, a great multitude is coming. Those having washed their robes in the great distress. Those having washed their robes in the fires of distress. Some are going to come out of the fires of the great tribulation of Yaakov's distress, having washed their robes, and are going to enter into life. Some are. But he sent me by to talk to a remnant, to speak to a remnant, to speak to a very small few, who have ears to hear and eyes to see. Revelation 14. Kazum, Revelation 14. Because it is no guarantee that you're going to make it out of the great distress. It is no guarantee. Most in the great distress are going to bow down to the feet of the beast. That's what the word says. Revelation 13 says it. That most are going to worship the man of lawlessness because they too are operating in lawlessness. Most are going to believe that he is the authentic Hamashiach. That he is the authentic Hamashiach. They're going to believe it. And if you are operating in the same lawlessness that he's operating in, you're not going to understand that he's operating in lawlessness. Many are not going to understand that he is operating in lawlessness unless you have the Torah written upon your heart. He's going to be deceptive. He's going to be very deceptive. This is why we must cling to Torah with our very lives right now. Our very lives. And seek the Ruach HaKadosh like never before. Revelation chapter 14, verse 1 through 5. And I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written upon their foreheads. And I heard a voice out of the Shamayim, like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpers playing their harps. And they sang a renewed song before the throne and before the 4 living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn the song except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. They are those who are not defiled with women. They are not worshiping other mighty ones. No. They're not walking in lawlessness. No. They're worshiping the one true Elohim of Shamayim and Arats, and his name is Yahuwah. They're the ones, these are the ones that are willing to give up all. These are the ones that Yahuwah is the most important thing in their lives. More important than their husbands and their wives and their children and their sisters and their brothers and their own lives. These are those who have the Torah written upon their heart and have the mark written upon their hand and upon their forehead, written by the very finger of Yahuwah, via his Ruach HaKadosh. They are those who are not defiled with women, for they are maidens. For they are maidens. This speaks to the context of not operating in idolatry, but operating in righteousness. Operating in righteousness, thus becoming maidens to our husband. They are those following the Lamb. They are those following the living Torah. They are those following the Ruach HaKadosh. They are those following the living Torah, following the Lamb wherever he leads them on, obeying the Torah in Ruach and in truth. Obeying the Torah in Ruach and in truth. They were redeemed from among men, being first fruits to Elohim and to the Lamb, and in their mouth was found no falsehood. In their mouth was found no falsehood. I was already told you that the Torah is the only truth. Everything else is falsehood. To the Torah and the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, there is no light in them. There is no truth in them. And in their mouth was found no falsehood. They are blameless before the throne of Elohim. Indeed, Maspaka, the whole world is going to be deceived. The whole world is going to be deceived. The whole world, not part of the world, but the whole world is going to be deceived. It is going to be deceived. Yahuwah spoke to me about 5 years ago and said that this was a season of separation and preparation. There is indeed a separation going on in our midst. Yahuwah is looking for true worshipers. He is looking for true worshipers, not those who worship him with their lips, but having their hearts far from him. He is looking for true worshipers, and he is separating the true worshipers from the false worshipers. He is separating, even in this season, the true worshipers from the false worshipers. There is a separation going on. He is marking his people on their foreheads and on their hands. And by the same token, the man of lawlessness is going about marking his people on their hands and on their foreheads. And on their foreheads. One of the Abraite words for worship is abad. Abad. A-B-A-D. Abad. We're going to look at this momentarily. Abad. Abad. Turn now to the very last text, I believe, to John, the 4th chapter. John, the 4th chapter. And that's going to be our last precept. Actually, no, it's not going to be our last precept. John, the 4th chapter. John, the 4th chapter. Turn to John, the 4th chapter. Turn to John, the 4th chapter. Beginning at verse 1. So when the master knew that the Pharisees had heard that Yahusha made and immersed more taught ones than Yahuchanan, although Yahusha himself did not immerse, but his taught ones, he left Yahuda and went away again to Galilee. And he had to pass through Shamarum. So he came to a city of Shamarum called Shachem, near the piece of land Yaqub gave to his son Yahusha. And Yaqub's fountain was there. So Yahusha, being wearied from the journey, was sitting thus at the fountain. It was about the 6th hour. It was about the 6th hour. Do not think that this is coincidence that this was about the 6th hour. A woman of Shamarum came to draw water. Yahusha said to her, "Give me to drink." For his taught ones had gone off into the city to buy food. The woman of Shamarum therefore said to him, "How is it that you, being a Yahudi, ask a drink from me, a woman of Shamarum? For Yahudim do not associate with Shamarunim." Yahushua answered and said to her, if you knew the gift of Elohim and he who it is who says to you, give me to drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water. I pray that many of you are going to ask for this living water. I pray that you're going to ask for this living water. The woman said to him, Master, you have no vessel and the well is deep. From where then do you have living water? Are you greater than our father Yakub, who gave us the well and drank from it himself and his sons and his cattle? Yahushua answered and said to her, everyone drinking of this water shall thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water I give him shall certainly never thirst. And the water that I give him shall become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life. He speaks to the Ruach HaKadosh. The woman said to him, Master, give me this water, so that I do not thirst, nor come here to draw. Yahushua said to her, go, call your husband, and come here. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Yahushua said to her, you have well said, I have no husband. For you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true. The woman said to him, Master, I see that you are a Nabi. Our fathers, listen here, worshipped on this mountain. But you people say that in Jerusalem is the place where one needs to worship. Yahushua said to her, Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you shall neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, because the deliverance is of the Yahudim. But the hour is coming, and now is, listen, when true worshipers shall worship the Father in Ruach and in truth. In Ruach and in truth. For the Father also does seek such to worship him. Elohim is Ruach, and those who worship him need worship him in Ruach and in truth. We cannot worship him. We cannot worship him and serve him unless we are born of Ruach, unless we are born of spirit. We cannot obey his Torah. We cannot worship him unless we are born of Ruach. And if we are born of Ruach, he writes his Torah upon our hearts, whereby giving us a love for it and a willingness and an ability to obey it. He then seals us with a mark on our forehead and upon our hand. Let's look at the Abarit word abad that I spoke about earlier. Abad means to work. It means to work and to serve. It means to work and to serve. Further definitions means to become slaves, been slaves, bondage, burdened, cultivate, cultivated, cultivates, do the work, do the work, do the work, enslaved, given, holdings, in bondage, work, worked, workers, working, worship, worshipers, worship, worshipers. This word abide is also a verb. It is also a verb. So to worship is to work. To worship is to obey. It is to obey. We can't obey in truth unless his Ruach indwells us. We cannot obey in truth, in Ruach and in truth, unless the Ruach of truth indwells us. We cannot worship him in Ruach and in truth, which means to serve, which means to work, which means to obey, which means to worship him, unless his Ruach of truth indwells us. But that word there in the Greek that is used for worship It's the Greek proskuneo. Proskuneo. That word is the Greek 4352. It is the Greek proskuneo. Proskuneo. And it means meaning to kiss like a dog, licking his master. A hand, to fawn or crouch. To that is literally or figuratively prostrate oneself in homage, reverence, to adore, worship, worship, worship. It also means to humble yourself and prostrate yourself and worship him and worship at his feet. You see, when you truly love him, you will lose all inhibition. You will lose all inhibition and worship him like you have lost your mind. If you truly have his ruach. If you truly have his ruach. And you won't care who is watching. You won't care who is looking. You won't care who is watching you cry. You will prostrate yourself and humble yourself in a crowd of people, and you won't care. You won't care. You won't have any inhibition. You will prostrate yourselves like our righteous father did. Fathers did, like Masha did, like Aharon did, like Abraham did, like Ishkak did, like Yaqub did, like Yahusuf did, like Ephraim did, like Dawood did, like all of our righteous fathers, Nuach and Abba and Sham and Methuselah and Kanuk and Adam, like all of our righteous fathers, you will lose all your inhibitions. You will crouch before his feet and worship him. He will be the only thing that matters to you. He will be the only thing that matters to you. These are the worshipers that he seeks. Those who worship him in ruach and in truth. Those who worship him in ruach and in truth. Further definitions, Thayer's definition reads as thus: to kiss the hand towards one in a token of reverence. 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 Many of you still don't know what true reverence looks like because you're rejecting his ruach. You continue to reject his ruach. Among the Orientals, especially the Persian, to fall upon the knee and touch the ground with the forehead as an expression of profound reverence. And the Ba'it Kadashah, by kneeling, a prostration to do homage to one or make obeisance, whether in order to express respect or to make supplication. Supplication. This word here is equivalent to the Abarite word shakah. Shakah. It is the equivalent to the Abarite word shakah. Shakah is also a verb. Shakah is also a verb. And it means to bow down. It means to bow down. It means to bow down, to lose all inhibition, to bow down and worship before his feet, which you cannot do. You cannot lose all inhibition without his ruach dwelling in you. Further definitions is bow. Bow ourselves down. Bow yourselves down. Bow down. Bow. Bowed in worship. Bowed themselves down, bowed down, bowing down, bows down, did homage, down in homage, homage, lie down, paid homage, prostrate, prostrated, prostrating, prostrating, weighs it down, worship, worshipped, worshiping, worships, worships. Abba has at times asked us to prostrate ourselves. Some did, some didn't. Some did reluctantly. Some did reluctantly because the Ruach doesn't dwell in them. The Ruach doesn't dwell in them. But Abba is exposing your nakedness. And he is exposing your nakedness in love so that you will seek him, to have him clothe your nakedness in righteousness, his spirit, his ruach of righteousness, so that he comes asking him, supplicating him to come and dwell in you. Many, Muspaka, need to check their eyesight. Many need to check their eyesight. Many need to check their eyesight. I posed a question to you, and it's a rhetorical question. I'm not asking in the physical sense. I'm not asking in the physical sense. But when is the last time you had an eye exam? When is the last time you had an eye exam? As it reads here in Matthew the 6th chapter, verse 22 and 23. Matthew the 6th chapter, verse 22 and 23. The lamp of the body is the eye. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, all your body is good. All your body shall be enlightened. But if your eye is evil, all your body shall be darkened. If then the light that is within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? How great is that darkness? You see, if Yahuwah is the only thing that matters to you, if Yahuwah is the only thing that matters to you, then your light is going to be good and your body is going to be full of light. If Yahuwah is the only thing that matters to you, if he is all that matters to you, then as the psalmist writes, you don't have to turn here, you can write them down. So we're getting ready to close. As the psalmist writes in Tahalim of Psalms, the 1st chapter, verse 1 and 2, glad is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of criminals, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the Torah of Yahuwah, and he meditates in his Torah day and night. And he meditates in his Torah day and night. You see, this is someone that is sold out. This is someone whom Yahuwah is all that matters to them. This is someone whose eye is good. Whose eye is good. If your eye is good, as the psalmist writes in Tahalim, or Psalms, the 119th chapter, reading verses 1 through 11. Glad are the perfect in the way, who walk in the Torah of Yahuwah. Glad are those who observe his witnesses, who seek him with all the heart. Yes, they shall do no unrighteousness. They shall walk in his ways. You have commanded us to guard your orders diligently. Oh, that my ways were established, to guard your laws. Then I would not be ashamed. I would not be naked. Then I would not be naked. No, if I guard your Torah and ruach and in truth, then I would not be ashamed. I would not be naked. Because why? Because your righteousness covers me. Torah is our righteousness. He is the living Torah. Yahuwah Zadakanu, Yahuwah our righteousness, who covers us if we obey the righteous Torah and ruach and in truth. Then I would not be ashamed. I would not be naked. When I look into all your commands, I thank you with uprightness of heart. When I learn the right rulings of your righteousness, I guard your laws. Oh, do not leave me entirely. How would a young man cleanse his path? To guard it according to your word. I have sought you with all my heart. Let me not stray from your commands. I have treasured up your word in my heart, that I might not commit crime against you. That I might not commit crime against you. If the living Torah is written upon our heart, that inward battle that we face every day, that battle, the battle of the flesh, we can defeat it. We can defeat it if the living Torah is written upon our hearts. If the living Torah is upon our heart, it's written upon our hearts, then his Torah is hidden deep within our hearts, such as to give us power to not commit crime against him. It's not enough just to read Torah. We must have the written Torah written upon our heart. I'm not diminishing written Torah. No, we are to meditate on Torah day and night. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. But if you're meditating on Torah and not having the Ruach HaKadosh indwelling in you, then you cannot properly understand and articulate that which you're reading. Which means that you can't properly obey it because you don't properly understand it. We must have the indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh to teach us all things, so that we can worship him and obey him and Ruach and in truth. You see, only a few are going to seek this. Only a few are going to seek this. The many are not going to seek this. There are some. I'm not under any illusion that everyone that is here under the sound of my voice is receiving this proclamation. Some of you, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. Some of you, that seed is going to be thrown by the wayside, and devils and demons are going to come right in and snatch that seed away. But you know what? Your blood is not on my hand. Your blood is not on my hand. I have been obedient and spoken what my Father has sent me by to speak. So much paka. There is a separation. There is a separation going on. Yahuwah is separating his people. He is separating his people. And the wicked one is separating his. The mark, the so-called, not the so-called, but the mark of the beast, it is predicated on who we worship. It is predicated on who we worship. Torah is the mark of Yahuwah. Torahlessness is the mark of the Torahless one. It is the mark of the beast. The beast is the Torahless one. Yahuwah is the living Torah. When the living Torah enters our hearts, he writes the Torah upon the heart and mind, which is made manifest via the works of our hands. Do you understand? When the Torah is written upon our hearts and our minds, the mark upon our minds, it is made manifest via the works of our hands. It is a mark upon our hands. It is a mark upon our hands. Many are called, but few are chosen. We must stay in Torah and guard it with our very life. With our very life. But we cannot guard it unless the indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh dwells in us. We cannot. We cannot. We must stay in it and guard it with our very lives. And we must see Yahusha in the Torah. We must see him in the Torah. You cannot see him in the Torah if he doesn't indwell in you. We must see him in the Torah, accepting his dam to cover our crimes, to cover our shame against Yahuwah. Many, inclusive of some in this assembly, many are keeping Shabbats and feast days, will not make it in because they are not guarding. They're not guarding the Torah in Ruach and in truth. They are not guarding it in Torah. They're not guarding the Torah and Ruach and in truth. They are adding and taking away from Torah, which is impaling Yahusha on the stake again, making his dam, or taking his dam in vain. Taking his dam in vain. I have come by, Abba has sent me by, to warn his people, to seek his Ruach HaKadosh, to seek his Ruach HaKadosh. Many are going to be deceived. Many are going to be deceived by the false Hamashiach. You're going to think he's real. You're going to think he's real. You're going to think that he's real. Many are called and few are chosen. Many so-called called and awakened are going to take the mark of the beast. They're going to take the mark because they don't have the indwelling of the Ruach HaKadosh. And they're going to worship the beast. This is the mark. This is the mark. The mark is lawlessness. They're going to worship him by adding and taking away from his Torah. by adding and taking away from his Torah. Abba Yahuwah, your servant has been obedient. Your servant has cried out. A voice crying out in the wilderness has cried out this day, Abba, as you gave me the strength and the utterance to do. I have honored your word. I have spoken what you have told me to do. I have no control, Abba, whether or not they receive this word. I can't control it. All I can do is speak. I pray, though, Abba, that this word cut, that it went forth as a consuming fire, and that it caused some to become uncomfortable, that the heat caused them to become uncomfortable, and that it caused them to shed clothes, and that their nakedness was exposed, and that it would cause them to come and fall before your feet, so that you would cover their nakedness, that you would cover their shame, that you would pour out your ruach of righteousness in them and upon them, so that they too may be clothed in righteousness, so that they then can begin to worship you in ruach and in truth, and obey your righteous Torah in ruach and in truth. Although I have no control, Abba, I pray that this seed, that this word, that none of it was thrown by the wayside, that none of it was thrown on stony ground. Although I have no control, I pray that that this seed was not thrown amongst thorns. I pray, Abba, rather that this seed was cast upon fertile soil, Abba, that has been tilled by you, that has been fertilized by you, and that has been prepared to receive this engrafted word that can save their lives, this engrafted word which can set them free. And I pray that this word that was planted on fertile soil would in kind grow up to become a mighty tree, producing the fruit that leads to everlasting life. In the Basham of Yahusha HaMashiach, so be it. So be it.
So be it.
So be it.
So be it.